Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Dead Day, Study Day, Quarantine, whatever you want to call it, how-to video series, where several students have sent us videos of how to do their favorite hobbies or maybe what they're doing in quarantine or whatever. And this video is going to be pretty long, and that's kind of the point. That's kind of why we set such a wide time frame for each student to send in the videos, because we are releasing this on Dead Day, and we understand that finals can be stressful, and you may need to take a break and just kind of relieve some stress and just log on and just see your friends doing something they love. And so this video is going to be long, and we really don't expect everybody to stay the whole time, because we do understand that you still have finals. Sorry. But yeah, we really would love for you to stay, and I hope you enjoy the videos. Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Yoga with Sensei Skipper. I know last week was a really hard week, so we're going to bring it back to the basics this week, and I'm going to teach you a simple sun salutation. So sun salutations are great warm-up before you start your practice, or if you don't have a lot of time, it gets your body working. So we're going to do sun salutation form A from the Ashtanga practice. So first things first, you got to get your feet centered, about hips distance away, and you're going to try to focus your balance in the very center of your feet, not on the outside, not on the inside, forward or back, very middle. And you're going to lift your shoulders up and have feel your belly button pulling up. Okay, so then you're going to inhale, and your arms are up. You can bring your face up too. And then when we exhale, you're going to bend at the waist. Keep your back as straight as you can. And it's okay if you can't touch the ground yet. Just do the best you can. After a few times, you'll get lower and lower. And then you're going to inhale, and you're going to straighten your back. And of course, your arms are going to touch if your back's straight. So you can touch your knees, your shin, or they can dangle. And then you're going to exhale and bend as far as you can. Really feel the curve of your spine. Really stretch it. And then on inhale, you're going to flatten your palms on the ground, and you're going to step back into a plank. And on the plank, I want you to lower as slowly as you can. And then on the inhale, you're going to do a cobra, which you're going to extend your arms and put your face up as high as you can. You'll feel a really good stretch in your abdomen. And then on the exhale, you're going to go into a downward dog. This is a really good stretch. Sometimes it's hard on your shoulders to feel your spine stretch. You can move your legs wide or closer together, whatever feels comfortable. You're going to be in here for a breath or two. And then you're going to step forward or jump forward with your back straight. And then you're going to inhale and exhale. And that's one sun salutation. You can do multiple. I usually do 6 in the beginning for a good warm-up. I'm already sweating, so thank you for watching, and thanks for namasteing at home.
So this is Dipper. She is very much the brat of the barn. She will only let you pet her if you give her food, which is normal. But Sky is our sweetheart. She loves nuzzles. She's also very short, but she's super pretty, as you can see. So we do have quite a few feral cats as well. They're Castiella, who's total sweetheart, and Nico and Ghost. And then our newest addition is Castiella's baby. This is Blue. Very small. She's probably a couple weeks old now. The one that you might hear barking later on is Charlie. She's our rescue pet. We've had her for a couple years now. We have realized she is pretty afraid of phones. There it goes. You can't have one out near her, or especially if you're looking at her, because she'll freak out. So she's a total sweetheart once you get to know her, but she's a little timid. You'll get to see her later. That's Charlie, and that's Hurley. So what we're doing today as well, we are going to take the horses to the vet to get their paperwork and their coggins updated. We're not taking my horse. You all didn't get a formal introduction to him. His name's Champ. He is off getting really, really amazing training to where hopefully he's been untrained, broke for the first 14 years of his life. So he's not really rideable right now, and I'm really hoping he'll be a good trail horse. And he honestly has the stamina in him to be an award-winning rodeo horse. So we're hoping that these next few weeks of training will be really good for him. But I'm really excited that you all get to see this part of taking care of horses. One down, one to go. Just some quick information for hauling horses. Whenever you're going down the road, you're gonna always wanna make sure that if you have the windows that drop down, that you close them, because the wind going through, if they stick their head out, can really damage their eyes. Hello. So, yep, always make sure the windows are closed before leaving. Temperature taken, for shots. She's ready to go home. So before I introduce you to the rest of the flock, I wanted to introduce you to our 2 youngest ones. They're about a week younger than everyone else, and one of them's a Banny, so he's a little bit smaller than the rest are gonna be. But the yellowish one, that's Cinnamon. She's a Cinnamon Queen. And then that is our Bantam. I have no idea if it's a boy or a girl or not, but my favorite thing about him, and I would let you get a closer look, but he's a pretty fast little sucker. He has feathers all along his legs as well, and they're a little hard to keep clean, but he's going to be beautiful. Or she, no idea. But they're both very cute. And they're our youngest, so they're still here in their brooding pen until we can get them out to the full coop with everyone else. So this is our chicken coop area. We have a little stall door that we've converted into our gate. My old childhood playground here, that's going to be an extension, so we have like a dual-plex chicken coop. Once they're old enough to walk around in here and not get through our wire fence, this will be the duck house, so they have their own separate area. And this is our coop. Love the Pinterest-worthy sign. Now, before I start the actual how-to part of this video, I wanted to introduce you all to the flock. So here we have General Sal, Hey Hey, and the other black one's Colonel Sanders. Our Golden Comet chick that's running up right around here, that is Pete. And our 2 ducks right there. You all definitely know those 2. Those are Cruz Ramirez and Donald Puddle Duck. So first we'll talk about feed. When they were chicks, they had 24/7 access to their chick feed, or chick starter. If you want to raise ducklings and chickens together in the same brooding pen, you're gonna wanna get unmedicated chick feed, which is, it's really easy, it's advertised that way, so it's not that big of a deal to find. The reason being, the medication that can be in chick starter is to help keep away certain diseases that can spread through a flock really fast. And if you're feeding ducks the same thing, they eat really quickly and a lot, and they can overdose on the medicine that's in the feed. So we have unmedicated chick feed for them now. Once they're at about 14 weeks, we'll be able to start giving them regular chicken feed. So we'll go ahead and feed them now. I typically come up here about twice a day to check on them, make sure they're still good on water, still good on food. I typically don't have to replace the bowl that they have in there that I keep their food in. Maybe every 2 days, fill it up, because the ducks eat a lot, the chickens not quite as much. But I have to water them still. It's a little more difficult to do with the type of coop that we have, so I have to put my phone down for that. So, what are you doing? You helping me out? Not really, you're just gonna sit there. Cool. Did want to talk about one little fun fact bird anatomy tidbit, at least for our chickens. If one of them will let me touch them, because they've been a little jumpy now that they're older. Hey baby, come here, hey, hey. So now that they're a couple weeks old, their feathering is a lot more than it used to be. I'm very surprised at how big they've gotten. But as you can see, right there and right there, that thing that they're getting on the top of their head that's very noticeable for people, that's called the comb. So these are these black ones that I have. We have 3. They're Asians. They're very gorgeous. They're very docile, and they grew the fastest out of all the chicks that we have. But their feathering came in so nicely, and they're so soft now, and they'll run right up to me. But one of the things I'm really enjoying about birds, come here. They got some dinosaur feet going on. Look at that. That's a dinosaur. And then, of course, you all know, huddle back here. Come on. Yeah, he's getting a little older now. Not quite as into the being held. Hi, guys. Come on. Okay, it's okay. Oh my gosh. So as you can see, he has all of his baby feathers falling out and his adult feathers coming in. He is starting to get white, and he'll be completely white, just the same as the other one. But he is very soft, and he's already bigger than when I got him in here. So, one last guy I'd like to point out real quick before I leave. That girl right there. She is our golden comet, known for egg production. So none of these are meat birds. But they're all very sweet and pretty docile. I haven't been pecked at all now that they're older. Once they start getting a little bit bigger, I will be wearing gloves in here though, just in case. Hello. So, thanks for listening, guys. Say bye.
Hey, what is up, everyone? My name is Tanner Morris, and I'm a whitewater paddler. So today, I'm going to be breaking down the movie Bird Box, specifically the whitewater scene. I'm going to be breaking down every key details about this part of the movie. And I'm going to be telling you guys why this movie is completely unrealistic, and Sandra Bullock should have been dead by the time she hit the water. So I do want to go ahead and let you know that I do apologize about the glare right here. I tried to mess with the lighting to see if, maybe that would fix it, but we kind of got to make do with what we got. I tried to do as much as I can with it, but I'm sorry. Another thing is I also do apologize about the quality of video. You guys are kind of close to the screen, so you might be a little more pixely. But I'll explain everything that's sort of going on to you. And if you've seen the movie, you've seen this part before. So, last but not least is I am going to be explaining some stuff to you guys, and that will require me to stand up. So, whenever I do, I am going to pick up the camera and then move it and I'm going to get a shot of me standing up, and I'll explain some stuff to you. So, yeah, that's kind of the explanation for everything, and that's kind of a brief summary of what I'm about to do. So, excuse me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start off the movie. Stop. Okay, so let me go ahead and break down what river they are on. So this river that they are on, it is actually a real river. It is actually the Smith River that is in California. So this river is technically about a class 4, 3 through 4 river. So if you don't know what that means, rivers are broken down into classes. So we have class 1. And class 1 means the water's just moving, there's not really current, not current, rapids, but there's moving water. Class 2 is basically there are rapids, and it's super easy to get through. It doesn't require any special skills to do it. In fact, I take people down class 2 rivers all the time, and they have a great time. And it's a good way for them to learn about the fundamentals of whitewater. Then there's class 3, and that's a little more, how do you say this? Not as advanced, it's intermediate. So intermediate means there are rapids and there is a specific route that you have to take. A good example of this would be the Ocoee River. A good example of class 1 through 2 is the Hiwassee River. So now we're going to get up to class 4. So class 4 is advanced. So advanced means that there is a definite route that needs to be taken to get through the rapids safely. And there is also a lot of water in big rapids. Now, these rapids classifications can be from waves to play holes to hydraulics, and I'll explain some of that in a second. And then we're going to get to level 5, or not level, class 5. Class 5 is expert. The chances of getting hurt or seriously injured in a class 5 rapid are notoriously high, and it has killed a lot of people around the years. But with the right amount of training and the right amount of practice, you can make your way up to about a class 5. So right now, they're on the Smith River in California. So remember, this river is about a class 3-4. So it goes from intermediate to advanced. So let's go ahead and continue and let's see what we got. Okay, let's break down the scene. Okay, so I know it's a little hard to see because of the light, but let us go ahead and sort of break down what's going on. So right here, what you see is called the main flow. So there's 3 different styles. There's 3 different kinds of routes you can take whenever it goes through a rapid. There's the main flow, there's the cheat route, and there's the meet. The main flow is basically where the river naturally goes and progresses downstream. The cheat route is basically the same thing, but it's sort of an easier route. So if you're not trying to go through these rapids right here, what you're basically trying to do is you're trying to, go maybe this way, go out, and basically hug the side. And then there is the meet. So basically the meet is like, you're ready to get into it, and you're trying to get the most energy possible. So basically you just run the most powerful part of the rapid. So here is a good bird's eye view. Now, anytime you're on a river that you're not familiar with, what you would do is do something called scouting. So scouting would consist of this. You pull off somewhere along here, and you would hop out onto rock. And what you would do is you would look onto the rapid. What you would look for is key things such as rocks, the main flow, and any sort of cheat routes. So you want to look for where to go. You want to look for what not to go, what to look out for. And you also want to look for hazards, because oftentimes if you're going down the river in any rapid situation, you cannot always see in front of you. So that's why you have to scout in order to see what's in front of you to get down safely. So this little section of water right here, this is about a class 4. And I'm going to explain to you why it's a class 4 and what's a good way to tell if there's a class 4. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. Okay, stop right there. So what you'll notice is that the 2 kids right there, they're actually doing something that's really useful. So Sandra Bullock, she's rowing the boat. Now remember, she's blindfolded during this whole thing, so it's going to be a little hard to see, which I completely get. And oftentimes some of these rivers can be very scary and very, very intimidating even without a blindfold. But what they're doing is they're grabbing onto the front. So this is called bracing for impact. So what you're basically doing is you're lowering your center of balance, so that way it's not as easy for the boat to tip. Now, Sandra Bullock, on the other hand, what she's doing is she's about to shoot the rapids. So she's about to just go right for it. And remember, she hasn't scouted this out. She is not very experienced in this kind of stuff. So let's just see what happens. Okay, stop right there. Okay, so it's a little hard to tell, but basically what's happening is she's running the main flow. Now, the cheat route in this would be to sort of go a little more river left and then curl up on the wave, and then you can catch this little eddy right over here. And an eddy is what we call in the whitewater community as an area of calm water. So if you ever need to pull off to the side to assist with a rescue or something, you would basically park your boat in an eddy, hop on out, and then proceed with any rescue or take a break or eat a snack or something. Or you can scout. Basically, this little area right here is an eddy. And yeah, just remember that. So let's go ahead and continue on. Okay, stop right there. Okay, so what you'll notice is that Sandra Bullock somewhat hit a rock on the side. She hit it on her, if I remember correctly, her left side in this film. So anytime you were ever in a situation where you see a rock coming, the best thing to do is actually to lean towards the rock. Because basically what's happening is you have water that is pushing up against you, and it's pushing you up against the rock. So what you're basically doing is you're leaning into the rock, and the point of this is to get your boat to sort of have the water go like this. Now, if the boat ever goes like this and then water hits like this, what's going to happen is the boat's going to flip, and it's not going to be a fun swim. And we're about to see Sandra Bullock take a hard swim. So let's go ahead and continue. Stop right there. Okay. Number one thing that most new kayakers will usually do is that they will enter a rapid very sideways. This is very dangerous. That is where most swims happen. The best thing to do is to tee up to the rapid and go straight through it. Because what happens is your boat is going like this, and the chances of you flipping are exponentially low when you're going like this compared to like this. Because remember, the center of balance, or the most, the most balanced part of the boat is directly in the middle. So if you hit a rapid and you just tee up to it, you're going to be fine. I mean, you might, end up getting flipped over, but, it's going to be super hard for the rapid to flip you over. So now we're going to watch Sandra Bullock take a hard swim. All right, so let's go ahead and just break down what exactly just happened. So, first of all, Sandra Bullock, I forgot her name in the movie, and boy and girl end up hitting a rapid sideways. So the rapid is this way, so they end up hitting the rapid sideways. Now what happens is, it's almost like a skateboard ramp. So you go up, and then oftentimes you flip. So let's sort of break down where they flipped at. So let's go ahead and back up a little bit, see if I can back up a little bit. Maybe I can catch it before they end up flipping, but I'll sort of break down what they flipped on. Bam, okay. So what they just entered in is something called a hydraulic. So in a hydraulic situation, here's what's basically happening. You have the water is coming this way, and you have a rock right here. So my fist represents the rock. So what's happening is the water is going over the rock and going straight down. So when it's going straight down, water is actually being pushed downwards. Now, once it gets downwards to a certain level, it's not all holes are the same. Some holes are pretty deep. Some holes are pretty shallow. It's oftentimes hard to tell how deep a hole is. The only way to really know is to swim there, and that's not really advised. So what's happening is the water is going down, and then what's happening is the water's sort of creating a funnel type seal around. So basically, the water's going down and then it's circling out. Now, the water that's going over the rock and then down, some water is going under the rock like this, and then it's circulating, and then it oftentimes shoots you out. But when it shoots out, it goes back into the main flow. And then the water that's going on the other side of the wave, or the water, is also making a circle. And then what's happening is, it's circling and then it shoots you down. So that is definitely not a very good place to swim. I do want to bring up the fact that, first of all, Sandra Bullock is going to break so many rules right now, and what she's about to do is completely impossible. And I'm going to show you why. Stop right there. Stop right there. So, in a out-of-boat situation, what's going to happen is the water level is going to push you down. That is why whenever we are on the river, we always carry the 5 essential items, especially if you're in a kayak. Now, if you're in a boat that's open like this one right here, it's different. But let me show you guys the 5 essential items for any kayakers. So, the first item is the paddle. So my paddle right here, it's double-sided. It has a bit of an offset, so if you haven't noticed, here's a good example. This has about a 15-degree offset, so meaning the front, meaning one side, is shifted 15 degrees, to the other side. This way, when I'm paddling, I don't have to worry about cocking my arm as much. So this paddle is often used for just regular play. The next thing that we use in whitewater situations is called the skirt. So the skirt right here, here's my skirt right here. It's a little hard to see, but basically what's happening is you put it on like a pair of pants. So basically what you do is you empty out your pockets. So I'm going to take my phone out of my pocket. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on like a pair of pants. So I'm basically putting on like a pair of pants like this. Now, you do a little dance when you do it, but that's fine because everyone else has done it before. So basically what's happening is there's this little thing right here called the tunnel. So this thing sort of goes under your life jacket and your dry suit and your dry top, and I'll show you guys what all that is in a second. But yeah, all this is basically designed to keep you warm, and also this area called the deck right here, this is designed to keep water out. Now, if you have an older skirt, then oftentimes water might leak through, but not a lot. It might be like 1 or 2 little droplets. So let's go ahead and talk about the next thing. The next thing is the helmet. The helmet is honestly one of the top 2 things that I want to see everyone on the river using. Because what happens is if you end up getting hit in the head with a rock and get knocked unconscious, then you're kind of in trouble. So it's very best to wear a helmet because what happens is the helmet absorbs any impact that you get from under the water. Now, if you get a look at my helmet, it's kind of hard to see, but I've scratched it up pretty well from the amount of times that I've hit my head on river bottom, on the bottom of the river. I've used this thing, and this thing has saved my life way too many times for me to count. So definitely wear a helmet. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. So basically how you put it on is you put it on, and then on the back right here, there's a little thing where you can like tighten it up like this. If you've ever gone on a ropes course, it's a very similar thing. So basically you just loosen it up, and then you put it on like this. And then what you do is you tighten it up. So for me, I have to push 2 things together like that in order to tighten it up. And then after that, I'm going to take these 2 things right here and clip them together under my chin like this. So this way, so the main thing that I always tell new people is this part is very important, but this part is also important well. The main point of it is you want to be able to shake your head really hard, and this helmet doesn't shake back and forth with your head. And this just prevents it from coming off. If you kind of notice what this thing is actually called a nose plug. Now, it doesn't go directly in my nose, but basically what I do is I plug my nose. Kind of like in cartoons when Roadrunner or any Looney Tunes character, they fart and then they just like stick like a clothespin on their nose. It's basically the same concept. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and I'm going to show you the most important piece. The most important piece is the life jacket. The life jacket is very, very important because a life jacket will save your life if you have an out-of-boat experience. You can have this off, you can have the helmet off, and you can have your paddle just gone, and you can have basically all the essentials, like your boat, everything's gone. This thing is going to keep you up. Anytime there's a rescue situation, the most important piece of equipment is you. So that's why this thing is helping you stay safe. Now, if you ever are in an out-of-boat experience, I'm going to show you. So basically what you do is you stick your feet out like this. You got to get your toes up out of the water. You have to get your hands out like this. So in water, it looks like this. So like that. So that is kind of one of the main things about sorry about that. That's one of the main things about any sort of safety. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with this movie. Yeah. Notice how she is not doing the whitewater swim position. Okay. So let me go ahead and tell you guys what the little kid did wrong. So what the kid did wrong was this. He grabbed onto a log. Now, this is one of the biggest no-nos in whitewater paddling or any type of recreational sport that requires rapids. Because what's happening is that log is on top of the water. And any water that's going to go through it is going to go under. And you don't know what's under most of the time. So what we call that is a strainer. So a strainer is something that the water can go through, but a person and a boat cannot. Now, it's better to have a boat get stuck under there than a person, because a person is really hard to get out. And a boat is just super easy. You know that the person is safe, and oftentimes the person that was in the boat can even help get the boat out. Now, another thing that you want to realize is this. So, in the movie, Sandra Bullock, now remember, I did some research on this movie, and this movie was filmed in October. So, when in October, the temperature gets super cold. It's not really in California very much, but what happens is the water just gets super cold, and it gets pulled from the bottom of the lake. Because this river is dam released, so it gets pulled from the bottom of the lake. So what's happening is that water is going to be super cold. So oftentimes, the biggest problem that we have in the river is hypothermia. So what we do is what we do as paddlers is we wear cold weather gear. So I'm going to show you a couple of cold weather gears. So first off, we have the shoes. So these are actually these are nicknamed booties because they look like little booties, and basically they're neoprene inseams, or not inseams, fabric. So basically, you can stick your whole foot in the water and you'll be fine. But as long as water doesn't get up on top of here, you're fine. So get a couple of those. Another thing is called a dry top. So a dry top is basically like this. So this is a very old dry top, but I've used it for a long time and it really works. So basically a dry top, it keeps everything up here completely dry. Now, if you were to take a swim, your legs are going to get cold, but the thing is, everything up here is what matters the most. Your legs, they're just your legs. You know, people can live without legs. But this keeps you warm. Now, how it keeps you warm is this. If you look here, there's a very stretchable fabric called a gasket. What you do is you put this on, and then you pop your head through. It is very tight around the neck. And also it has a gasket on the wrist right here. And also you take this thing off and you clip it together, or you Velcro it like this, and it keeps water from really getting in. And also it's the same thing for the other side, but the gasket on that side's a little busted up. And then the last thing is the dry suit. So this is an example of a dry suit. So notice that it covers the entire body. So it covers everything from the arms to the body to the legs. Now this is a full-on dry suit, and also my favorite part about all dry suits is it has a relief zipper. Especially if you're a guy, you could just open that and do your business, and you don't, have to take your dry suit off. So the fact that Sandra Bullock is not coming out of the water and just like shivering off and just like going berserk right now from the cold temperature just beats me. It proves that basically whoever is the stunt woman for Sandra Bullock and the two kids, they clearly know what they're doing, and they clearly have the right gear for that. So let's go ahead and continue the last bit. I'll go ahead and I understand I'm cutting my time short, but let's go ahead and finish off. So that was the Bird Box whitewater scene. So from a whitewater perspective, Sandra Bullock, if that were to happen in real life, Sandra Bullock would be dead for sure. First of all, because of this. when you get caught into a hole and you swim, if you don't have any sort of flotation device, you're going to stay under. And probably in about 10 seconds, your body is just going to just start freaking out. And next thing you know, you're going to run out of air and you possibly are going to have a bad situation. And also the kid that Sandra Bullock went to the rock for, yeah, in reality, he would have been dead because, you got water pushing up on you. And what's happening is water is going to push you onto it, and it's going to be super hard to. Oftentimes, depending on how powerful the water is, it's going to crush your body, or it's going to like push you into a situation where you're basically having a hard time breathing, and like, your nose and your mouth are, underwater, and it's not a very good situation. So, ladies, thank you guys so much for listening to my whitewater, to my breakdown of the whitewater scene from Bird Box film. So thank you guys, and have a nice day.
Hi friends, so this how-to video is actually going to be how to implement some cool psych tricks in your studying and your coping if you get overwhelmed with your studying and for testing as we're going into finals. So number 1, social distancing. No one's getting hugs. So something that you can do that can stimulate a similar response as someone giving you a hug and giving you that affection is your brain actually cannot tell your touch versus somebody else's touch. It relies on visual spatial memory and cues and motor to be like, oh, yeah, I can see that's me. That's me touching my arm, not somebody else. So if you do this and you kind of close your eyes and you hold it, it can actually stimulate some of the same response as having a hug or other connections. This is really good if you're like being panicky. This is a really good way to keep yourself calmed down, is by giving yourself like a little self-hug with a little bit of pressure. And in this, we have a really cool opportunity that it has been proven that if you sit and you study in the same place as to where you're taking your test, especially in your house or wherever you're at, it helps with rehearsal and recall in your memory of your information. This also can be implemented when we go back to regular classes. Pick a seat in a class and sit in that seat all year for each test. Also, when you're studying, pick kind of like a unique scent to wear that you for each test. Like if you're studying for neuro like I do, I would wear a specific scent, and then when I took that test I would wear that scent too, because your scent is actually one of the most closest sensory things that is tied to memory, because memory is actually processed in the temporal and the parietal lobe, and hearing is in the temporal lobe, which is cool. I think it's just really cool. Also, if you have headaches, mint helps. Like mint tea, just mint helps. It will help with your headache, and it will help with agitation. And if mint's too strong, rosemary does the same thing. Rosemary scent. I also would offer, when you're studying, study for like an hour and then take a 5 to 10 minute break and then study again, because your brain, you can get really frustrated really, really quick. And your brain can only hold so much and rehearse so much information at one time. So if you give yourself little breaks, it will actually help you retain the information better instead of sitting down for 4 hours and looking at a book and your notes. It will help if you give yourself little mini breaks or little mini segments. You can even do 30 minutes and then a 5-minute break. It helps keep you from getting really frustrated. Another thing that I'm going to talk about, it's called a grounding box, is a sensory box. We typically use these with people who have autism or have sensory issues. So I'm kind of using this as a revamped version for us. And it's a little box. You don't have to actually put it in a box. Mine needs to be mobile. So if you open your fun little box, got it, you have things. Bear with me. You have something that's like a textured thing that you can touch, you can rub. I have this little piece of felt because it's a good little sensory thing. I'll explain why this is important in a second. So touch, like a little piece of felt. Something you can smell. You can actually use tea bags. Or you can use oil or essential oil. I don't have it because I lost it, but I usually keep a little cotton ball with rosemary because, like I said before, rosemary, mint, and stuff helps with headaches. Something that makes sound. Doesn't have to be anything big. I keep rubber bands. Makes noise. It also keeps my fingers busy. Something you can look at in terms of being able to like concentrate on it fairly hard. I had this little thing that I drew. You can do anything, but it has a lot of colors and shapes, and it allows me to just sort of mindlessly focus on what the colors are and the shapes. Really easy memory and visual cues. I also have something you can taste. You don't usually include this in like a regular sensory box, but I like to do it as like a little reward. You sometimes will put gum in it, so I can have a piece of gum or a like little bit of my favorite candy. These are cherry sours. I love them a lot. And so part of the reason why I am offering this box is because we can very quickly get overwhelmed, and we start running on emotion. We start running on our limbic system, and we stop relying more on our frontal and our prefrontal cortex, which is our higher level thinking and our disinhibition and being able to be rational. It also gives you, this box also gives you little things you can do that can redirect some stimulus and some social and sensory cues elsewhere, and it just sort of helps get you out of your panic frazzled state, doing something very simple and mindless, by redirecting attention to some sort of physical object that usually has to do with one sensory. It allows you to recenter and kind of reground yourself, and then you're ready to go back and do studying and stuff. I hope that this makes sense. I'm kind of rambling about it, but I love the grounding box because, like I said, if you get overwhelmed, it gives you something to redirect and your attention to, and just sort of sit and be mindlessly still for a minute. My last thing is something I do when the kids, my preschoolers, get a little, or throwing a tantrum, or are very upset, is I say, okay, you can be upset. We'll sit, and when you're ready to talk and you're ready to work through it, we'll talk and we'll work through it. Why am I telling you this? Because this is your permission to being, I am frustrated and I am upset, and being able to walk away for a minute and then come back when you have a better grip to sit down and be like, okay, this is what we really have to do, and this is what I need to do. It is giving you a chance to get out of your limbic system and back into your decision making and your executive functioning in your prefrontal cortex. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any more questions or you have any comments, or you just would like to reach out and get a little bit of more personal insight in grounding and coping, hit me up. Be glad.
What's up, my dudes? It's your girl Kaylee coming at you, dressed up with some overalls and house shoes just for you today. Today, we're going to be learning the Lazy Daisy stitch. As you can see, I'm already obsessed with it. Shout out to K-Skits for the drawing. Supplies, you're going to need some scissors, some thread. Mine's left over for a project I never finished. Who's surprise? Whatever you want to stitch the stitch onto. I have a needle holder and a hoop. You don't have to use one, but it is super helpful if you have one. So there's a terrible transition for me putting the hoop onto my pant legs and showing you my thread. Ooh. This is me just showing you that the threads come in multiple pieces. This has 6 threads in one thing. So here I am starting to try and separate them. So there's about 6, so I'm trying to do 2 at a time. So there's going to be 3 different cords by the end of this. Oh, there we go. It likes to get caught, so oh, there's that double chin. Look at that. All right. And there's my 2 different pieces. There's one more down there, and that makes 3. Yay! Here's a much longer than it needs to be recording of me trying to thread a needle because my little threader thing is back in Murfreesboro and I'm in Chattanooga right now. So here we go, trying to thread. So basically coming up, you'll see me and I got it. Yes, heck yeah. All right, and then we're going to tie off the ends because you're about to mark your pattern. So here we go. All right, so then I've got a little Sharpie thing. And I'm going to be marking where I want to start my stitches at. So there's the middle, and then here's the outside pegs of our Lazy Daisy chain. I'm going to do 5 on each. I'm going to do a big one, and then 4 small daisies. So you'll see the middle markings for that here in a second. 2, 3, 4. Yay, we can count to 4. And there is your outline. Transition. Okay, to do this stitch, you're going to come up through the middle point where you want your stitch to be. I would hold the outside, so you're going to make a loop here. You're going to go back down right where you came out at. Sometimes I like to leave a little space to make it look more like a flower petal, and whatever floats your boat. So then you're going to pull that through as soon as my hands can get situated there. Still keep hold of that loop, because what you're going to do is you're going to come back up where that outside mark that I made. And that's going to be the tip of your daisy flower. So you're going to feed it underneath and let it come up through where that spot is. Can I find it? Can I find it? And dude. There we go. Okay. So pull it up through there and through. Still keeping a hold of that until it gets taut like that. Pull it, but not too tight. And then you're going to go back down on the other side of where you just came up through. Kind of right there on the outside of that black dot. And then you're going to pull back down. And thank you for ignoring the chipped nails. Corona's been hard on all of us. And voila. There is your first chain of many. Look how kind of pretty it is. It needs some work. We'll see. Here's a little fast track of me doing a couple more stitches to save you time. All right. Here it is again, just to show you where it's at. Oh, there's me trying to find the wrong spot. All right, here's the stitch again. Up through the middle, hold it out, back down where you came up through. Beautiful. Hold it tight, and then you're gonna come back up through the mark right there. And here, I think I tried to do a little slow-mo video, so enjoy. Ah, beautiful. All right, pulled through and back down right next to where you just came up through. Opa! All right, time for the French knot for the middle. You're going to pull up through the middle, take your thread, and wrap it twice around the needle. And then you're going to keep pulling that thread that's in your left hand a little tighter until it pulls your needle down. And then you're going to pull it through. Do it slowly because you don't want it to close before all of the thread is through. So there you go. Pull slow, slow, slow until it makes a perfect little knot. I'm going to add a couple more because this is a big flower, so I think I do 4 before this is done. Enjoy my thinking face while I think, what if I add an outside layer to this flower? It could work. And gray thread. And here is me going through that whole thing, adding gray thread to the outside of this flower. I'm very focused, as you can tell. And slight intermission because the budster buddy had to go outside. Oh, look at that. Way to go, buddy. Proud of you. And here is me running back in. Boom. And transition shot to show you what the gray thread looks like on the outside. Not a major change, but some. Here's a time lapse of me doing the other 4 daisies as well as their stems. The stems are super easy. It's literally just simple stitches going through to make a straight line. Anyone could do that, I promise. It's not that hard. I'm definitely singing along to some Lizzo there. Transition to a really big I don't know what that was, I'm so sorry. Singing along to some John Bellion, and then now enjoy dramatic slow motion of the finished product. 5 daisies with their stems. I even put in one little leaf there. And there you have it, my dudes. Finished product of a lazy daisy stitch and a French knot. Super easy to do. Thanks for sticking around for this how-to. Peace out, man. Love you all so much. I miss you. Mwah.
Everyone, I hope you've all been doing okay with the whole coronavirus thing and the being quarantined. I'm sure by this point you've got cabin fever. I know that I have cabin fever. It's very prevalent. It's driving me insane. So, for those of you who might not know me, my name is Melina DeGoyer. I am one of the worship coordinators at MTSU's Wesley Foundation. And not only do I enjoy being a worship coordinator, not only do I enjoy hanging out with people, even though I can't during this quarantine, I also have a strong passion for SFX makeup. And that is what I'm going to be teaching you guys today. Today we're going to do 3 basic looks. The first one is going to be a basic character build that involves facial correction, which basically means I'm going to reconstruct my face like a plastic surgeon, but with makeup. The second look is going to be an injury-related look. It's going to look like we just got into a very bad bar fight, and we're going to make it look as realistic as possible. Some of you might already know my wrath. I've already tricked a few people in thinking that it was real the last time I did it. So I think that we got a pretty good shot at making it look pretty realistic. The third thing we are going to do is just kind of for my own enjoyment, because I've done it before. We are going to gender bend into the opposite sex. And what that means is I'm going to make myself look like a boy. Why? Because I have cabin fever. I'm stuck in the house, I have all this makeup in front of me, and I got nothing better to do. So, that is what today's goal is going to be. Those 3 looks, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So, I have all of my makeup in front of me. I got my mirror right over here. So, let's get started. A majority of the products I'm going to use, aside of the first few you see here, are going to be Ben Nye products that I bought for my class at MTSU. Just use things you've got in your makeup kit that has similar colors and you're going to do just fine. I have to restart the recording every time we get there. Now, one of the first things you're going to want to do before you start doing your makeup is going to be starting with a clean slate. You're going to want to wash your face, get rid of the oils, wipe her down, make sure she's nice and clean. The next thing you're going to want to do is what I'm doing right now, which is getting your hair out of the way of your canvas, because it's gonna not really, your hair shouldn't be part of the look yet, that's all I'm saying. So just push that bad boy back and we're gonna get started on our first look, which is the character look. Now the thing about the character look is that it's gonna act like a basic makeup that you would do normally every day, except you're going to give your character some kind of a background. So today my character is going to be just a young person, relatively my age. She is going to be someone who works outside, so she's going to have some sunburn, some sun damage on her face, which for most people you recognize sun damage as either, again, sunburns or freckles. But before we can get to that point, we have to get started with our foundation. Now when it comes for my skin personally, it pulls a lot of red tones, so I have to use 2 different foundations on top of each other in order to get that nice sleek character look. It's not going to exactly match my skin tone just because this is stage makeup, so it needs to be just slightly darker so that it shows up nicely on stage, but you can use your regular makeup and it'll work just fine for you. Now for me, I have to use these two, which are P42, Ultra Beige, which is Ben Nye's, and then I also have to use Ben Nye PAS1, Natural Beige. Those two on top of each other are what's gonna work for my skin. So what I forgot to mention was I actually, because of this being a corrective look, you have to cover a lot of your blemishes, a lot of your dark spots, a lot of your redness. So what I used was Hard Candy Color Correction. I used their Radiant Primers, their pink, and I used their green. Their green, well, really green in general, is actually used to cover up redness and counteract the redness. And the pink is actually used to lighten your dull spots. So if you notice, I used the green all over my face in order to cover a lot of the blemishes, and I used the pink, which you'll see me use in just a minute, in order to cover my dark circles, in order to cover my personal, just a genetic thing, my jowl lines that I have that can get dark at times. And also, I tend to have bigger pores in the crevices of my nose, so you'll see me use it there as well. And the pink is used to lighten things, to make your face a more even shape. And obviously, like I said before, the red is used, not the red, the green is used to cover up your blemishes, which are red, in order to, again, give you a more even tone to use your base makeup on. Now, what you see me pulling out are just some regular sponges, makeup sponges, and I'm going to use my first lighter color of the beige in order to cover my face in a base of foundation. By the end of this adventure of foundation, I'm going to look like a ghost. So enjoy a little fast forward of me putting on 2 layers of foundation because my skin doesn't know how to cooperate with me at all. At this point, I realized that my light was way too light. I've been using my window, and I couldn't find a balance, so I had to get up and try and figure that out. Oh well, it happens. Now up next is going to be my next color, which is the PAS1 Natural Beige. Also, just make sure, because you use the sponge, it does have 2 sides. Don't be wasteful, just use the other side of the sponge. It's not like you're going to mess anything up. They're going to be mixing anyways. Now that we've gotten our base done, it's time to move on to my favorite part, which is going to be the contour portion. Now the contour portion, you can use a regular contour kit, but again, I use the things that are going to be in my Ben Nye kit. So what I'm going to be using here is the Cream Shadow CS3. It's a character shadow. It kind of has a more purpley hue, which works really well for when you're doing on-stage makeup because it makes everything look a lot more crisp, a lot darker. It's not just a regular brown that looks really soft. It's going to be a nice contrast when it comes to shaping the face. So let's do it. So I'm going to speed this one up just a little bit quicker than the last one. So what's happening here is I'm going to be using my brush to outline where I want the shadow to go, and then I'm going to fill in with just a little bit of product so I have a placemat of where things are going to go. After that, I'm going to dip my sponge into the product, and then I'm going to sponge it out, smooth it out, and make it look the way I want this character to look, which involves a little bit of editing just because I wanted to try something a little bit different, you know, with the nose and making the jaw a little bit sharper, making the cheeks a little bit sharper. But really, it's just kind of up to you. What do you want this character to look like? What do you want their facial structure to look like? It's just all fun and games, so just make it up as you go. Doesn't have to be the same as me. So I went ahead and moved on, so I started using my highlight, which was the CH0 Ultralight Ben Nye. I outlined it with my paintbrush similar to the shadow, and then I took a sponge with a little bit of product, and I blended that bad boy straight in. Just because I wanted to get that step done, it makes the shadow pop a lot more. Next, I decided to go in, and I used my cream contour. I used Cinnamon and Dusty Rose with a stipple sponge. I dipped it into both and I started working on the freckles. I use these two colors as they contrast really well, and also the Dusty Rose works as a tiny blush. Then I brought in my bruise wheel. I used a tiny bit of the red to add a little bit of color, and then I went back in with my CH Ultra Light highlight to give the freckles a little bit of dimension with some light ones. Finally, I added my eyebrows, which was Taupe EP3, to really make them pop and show up. Then I went back to that contour wheel with the Dusty Rose and put on my lip color, just because my lips were kind of gone at this point. Was being a bit of a monster for me, but here's our finished look. I'll go ahead and try to bring my face in so you can actually see what's going on. So, like I said, we added some fun freckles, we contoured my face to give it a completely new shape, and now we have created our character, which was someone who is relatively my age who works out in the sun. Okay, we are back, we are clean, we are ready to go. So next we're going to be doing the injury makeup, and what that's going to involve is Ben Nye Liquid Latex. I'm also going to be using Scar Wax to give you a little bit of an example of how to use that. I'm going to be using Ben Nye's Dark Blood in order to give it that darker, evil, bleh, gory look, because you kind of need that. I'm also going to be using Spirit Gum Remover. Now, the thing about Spirit Gum Remover, the reason I'm using it is because if you have ever used Scar Wax at any point, even if you haven't, I'll just let you know it is very, very sticky. It is really a pain in the butt to use without some kind of a lubricant. So some people will use Vaseline, some people will just use baby oil. I use Spirit Gum Remover because it's basically like an oil. It works the same way. I mean, it basically is an oil. And so what it will do is it'll lubricate the Scar Wax in order for me to make it malleable to my face. Now, when it comes to using liquid latex, when it comes to using nose and Scar Wax, you need a clean face anyways, because it's not going to stick to the surface unless it is clean. So instead of doing a regular base of makeup before, I'm going to end up just using these straight on my face because my skin is sensitive, but it can handle this for some reason. If you're skin sensitive, you might want to put something down just to make sure that your skin doesn't get irritated. And then once we get those on to where we need them to be, we're going to start adding the makeup, which we are mainly going to be messing with our favorite bruise wheel, which consists of all of our colors we're going to need to create bruises. We're also going to be doing a little bit of a bruise tutorial as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding on the liquid latex. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread it on in thin layers. Make sure it's thin layers. You want to make sure the outsides are thin. Then I'm going to use a hairdryer in order to speed up the process to make sure that it dries. You can know it's dry by giving it a quick little touch and making sure it's not super tacky. Really, it shouldn't really be tacky at all. And then add on another thin layer. So I would recommend doing about 2 to 4 layers. In this specific one, I ended up doing about 4 layers of latex. So let's take those scissors and those tweezers and let's go ahead and start pulling up that skin, cutting it up, making it look like we really gashed ourselves in the face thanks to this liquid latex. Next, we're going to be going in with our bruise wheel and we are going to add that light red inside under all of the flaps of the latex, really make it look like it's pretty deep in there. Then we're going to take that purpley color, pack it in to make the gash look just a bit deeper than what it looked like with just the red. Finally, we're going to add that black sparsely to make sure that it is deep. Now we're going to pick the bottom of a sponge to make it look like capillaries, add on that light red, and nice and unevenly pack it around to make it look pretty irritated. Finally, the fun part we've all been waiting for, we're going to add that fake blood in. We're going to really pull it into those liquid latex. Make sure it goes under the flaps of the latex to make it look like it's been pooling up to the surface. And now we have our first cut. So moving on, we're going to start using the Scar Wax and we are going to apply it with our spatula by scooping it out, rolling it into nice little cylinders and applying it to our eyebrow. Now what I'm using on my finger is the Spirit Gum Remover, the oil, because the nose wax and Scar Wax is really sticky. As you can see, it does become a little bit of a problem when I start trying to put it on my mouth. And so I really had to pack on that spear gum remover in order to smooth it out to make it look like a skin texture. You really want to smooth it out. Now take a spatula, or if you have any kind of a straight edge, and try to put one straight line into your scar wax so that it looks like you have a scar. Then take your same sponge you use for your bruises and add a little bit of light red for irritation. Now take a brush, make it really thin, use that light red to go inside of the cuts, and then use that dark purple to go inside of the cuts to make it look a lot deeper. Now we finally get to use our bruise wheel to make our actual bruise around our eye. Like I showed you, we're going to use our light red, we're going to pack it around with that sponge. Don't worry about mixing your colors, it's all going to end up on your face mixed up and it's going to show up fine. Have our injury look. What we worked on, we did some liquid latex, we did some bruising, and we also worked with some scar wax in order to make it look like we have injured ourselves. Now I'll go ahead and get a little close here. Beware, it's a bit gruesome. This is on the very, very dramatic, like, I was blackout gone bar fight and I lost. This was a tough one. This was a rough one. But it looks pretty cool, and it looks relatively realistic, and it was definitely fun to do. So up next is our final look, which is going to be the fun one for me. We're going to gender bend, but first I have to wipe my face off. So if you don't mind, I gotta go. Okay, we are back. We are clean. Now, this section's going to be a little bit shorter simply because we have done some of this already before. So what we're gonna do is we are going to first put on our foundation. So let's skip right to that. A bit of craziness happened, no biggie. My editing software decided I wanted to shut down in the middle of my last recording while I was doing the contour, so I'll just explain what happened. So what I did was I tried to keep the lines a bit more sharp this time, but I still used the same contour step that I used before. I used a sponge, a brush, and that shadow cream. And what I did was I created the lines a bit more, like I said, sharp than what I did in the original first look, because when creating a guy's facial structure, they can be a bit more chiseled than the female feminine facial structure. And especially in my case where my face is really round, it's important for me to make sure those lines are sharp to really show a difference in contrast with my face shape and the face shape I am trying to go for. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to start working on wrinkles, because I never said that this man was going to be young. He's actually going to be more towards, I would say maybe like 40s and 50s. So we're going to give him wrinkles. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the next section right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two thinnest brushes and I'm going to squish them with my fingers to make them very flat. And then I'm going to grab my cream shadow and I'm going to start drawing the wrinkles. Where I'm starting here is called the nasolabial fold. It is the first wrinkle that you develop when you are getting older. Now when you are creating wrinkles, always make sure that you do it in one fell swoop. As you can see, I will occasionally go back and fix the things that I've done, but other than that I do it in one straight line, because if you start doing it with sketching motions, you could add extra lines that you don't want. Now when blending shadow, make sure that you blend upwards. Shadows always blend upwards, and the reason for that is because you want the shadow to lead to where that crevice ends. Now when we start doing highlight in the next section, we are going to highlight downward in order to contrast that upward shadow to show the difference in the planes where it is actually lower versus where it is higher. Finally, we've reached the highlight. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on the bottom of all of those lines that we had created for the shadow, and we are going to blend all of the highlight downward in order to create that difference between the upper portions of the wrinkles and the lower portions of the wrinkles. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, time for facial hair. We're going to take that EP9 black, put it on our eyebrows. Make sure you go in two directions so the eyebrows look thick and more boyish because they don't tweeze. Next we're going to take that cinnamon and that black on the contour palette, take a stipple sponge, and we're going to swipe in the direction that hairs go. Don't forget the soul patch, that's kind of important. Now at this point, this is the moment where I decided I kind of want a mustache. It's my face. We're going to do it. So we decided to put a mustache on the face, and now we have full-blown scruff. We made it. It took us a weird road to get here, but we made it. We have created injuries, we have created regular people, and we've created hobos. I didn't think that my quarantine madness would get me to this point, but look where I am now. So, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, because I definitely learned something today. I need social interaction. So, I'm glad that we had to have this moment for me to realize that I'm a little far gone. So you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, this is my how-to video I thought that I would make for you and show you how to make a Wesley favorite poppy seed chicken. It's actually very easy to make and you can impress your parents and your friends. So here is everything that you need for poppy seed chicken. You need, this is enough to serve 4. You need 4 chicken breasts, chicken tender, however you want to call them, breast fillets. You need 1 thing of Ritz crackers, stick of butter. You need an 8-ounce sour cream and 1 can of cream of chicken soup. You need 2 bowls. You need a big bowl and a little bit smaller bowl. And of course you need poppy seeds. All right, so the first thing you do is you have to cook your chicken, and you put your chicken in a pot that is full of water and that will cover the chicken. When you turn that on, it'll take about 20 minutes for the chicken to cook. And so I am going to go wash my hands, because anytime you handle chicken, you need to wash your hands while that's cooking. All right, so my chicken is done, and so I'm going to take it out and put it in a bowl, let it cool off a little bit, because you can't really handle it as hot as it is. In the meantime, there's a couple of other things you can do. You need to turn on your oven to 350 degrees. Let that be preheating. And then you have a couple of other things you can do. First, in your smallest bowl, you're going to put your stick of butter and take it to the microwave. Let that be melting. Meantime, you're going to take your package of Ritz crackers and you're just going to take your frustrations out on it for a few minutes. Let it get good and beat up in small little pieces. Then in your bigger bowl, you're going to take your cream of chicken soup. Put that in there. Did you go get that butter? And your sour cream.
Butter exploded.
The magic hands come into the screen and bring me my butter back. My sous chef. And then your your sour cream. And it's up to you. I like a little extra sour cream, so I'll put a little bit more in there. You've got just a little bit more. You stir that up good together. Makes this nice mushy goo. That's what makes it taste so good right there. Okay, so you have that, and in your butter, you're going to put your demolished Ritz crackers. So glasses or two. Just gotta get a spoon. Make sure that they're chopped up really good. And mix that in with your butter. And then you're going to put your poppy seeds in. The recipe calls for a teaspoon. You can put in really as much as you want. This is a little more than a teaspoon. Just as many as you would like. Just so you will sufficiently have poppy seeds in your teeth by the time you finish eating. You are really good friends with someone eating poppy seed chicken. You'll tell them if they have poppy seeds in their teeth. All right, so this is going to be our topping. And this is going to be what we put the chicken in. So this is stirred up really good. All right, so you take that chicken. Takes a little longer than that to cool off, by the way. Mine's been out of the pot for just a little bit. I've already shredded, put that down. I've already shredded 3 of my chicken breasts, so you're going to shred it into little pieces like that. You'll start by, if you've got a good piece of chicken, you won't have a lot of fat, but you tear or cut off the edge right here where there might be any fat, and that's why your dog begs and catches the fat off your chicken. But you take this chicken then and shred it up into small pieces. And then you put it in the goo. You can put the goo in the pan and then put the chicken in and then put the goo on the top, however you want to do it, really. It's really not rocket science. But when everything is stirred up really good, you're going to take just a 9x9 pan if you're making it for 4. And you're going to put all this in here. Smooth it out. And then this is optional if you would like. You can put a little cheese on the top. It's usually pretty tasty. And then you put this on the very top. This is the Ritz crackers with butter and poppy seeds on the top. Spread that around a little bit. And if your oven is preheated, then you will put it in the oven. All right, so you're going to put that in the oven and set a timer for about 30 minutes. And while that is cooking, you can get your side dishes ready. You need something to serve your poppy seed chicken on. I'm going to make some rice, and then I'll make a salad and maybe some broccoli. Some people like to put their poppy seed chicken on pasta. So whatever that is, you need to get that ready and clean up the mess you made while that is in the oven cooking. And we will see the final product when it comes out of the oven. So our timer went off. And our poppy seed chicken is done. Hold it up high so they can see the top of it. So you can see it just gets brown on the top. The cheese gets good and brown. And then you plate it. So over here we have a plate that's got green beans and rice. And this is really hot. You just take a spoonful or 2 on top of the rice. You can add a little salad if you want. And there you go. You have poppy seed chicken. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, it's Beverly here, and I'm just gonna share with you a little how-to video on how to recycle properly. I am very passionate about recycling and about the environment, and so it's really important that when you recycle, you do it properly so that it doesn't get thrown in the waste bin or it doesn't ruin the rest of the recycling around and make it harder on the recycling workers. So I have some things set out for us here, and I'm just going to go through each kind of category of recycling. So these are typical household things that we have here at the Girls Wesley House. So first of all, with paper is super easy. You just throw it. We have a specific bin for paper, and you just throw it in here, and there should be a container labeled at the recycling place for you to recycle your paper. And cardboard is easy as well. But you have to make sure that it's broken down first, so ripping out all of the parts that are connected, because that helps it process. And also you have to make sure that it's not food contaminated. So unfortunately, our pizza boxes and things that have pizza grease on them cannot be recycled, so these have to be thrown away. And if they do get in this recycling, it could potentially contaminate it, and then all of this is ruined, which is really sad. Next, moving on, plastics. So these are food contaminated plastics. They have specific bins for these, but most of all you want to make sure that they're clean on the inside. This one has something in it, so I'll probably have to re-rinse this again, but milk cartons have to be clean, and this has to be clean, so everything has to be clean. And it can also be recycled with the lid on, so you can keep the lid on. You can take it off or on, but either way it's okay. And then next, moving on to metals. So metals are actually one of the best recycled things that you can have. And you can either take the paper off or leave it on. Personally, I prefer to take it off just to kind of separate that and take some ease off of the people at the recycling center. But one thing about metal is that there is a difference between aluminum and tin. So aluminum is what you would think of as like a soda can. It's like a Sprite can or a Coke can or anything like that. And then tin would be like soup cans, or in this case, Chef Boyardee cans. And one way that you can tell is by taking a magnet, and if it sticks on here, that means that it's tin. So this is kind of sticking a little bit. Well, not as much as I would like for it to, but kind of. It kind of sticks a little bit, so then therefore you can tell that it's tin. But if it doesn't stick at all, that means it's aluminum. And separating those out is really important. Kind of sticks a little bit. You see my point. Separating them out is very important because they are two different kinds of metals, and so they're recycled differently. So it's very important that you test and make sure that your tin is separated and your aluminum is separated. And last but not least, glass. Glass is also really great to be recycled. Most of the time at recycling centers, they will have a separate container for the colored glass, such as like blue glass and green glass and brown glass, and then they'll have a separate for clear glass. And you also want to make sure that you can get the paper off as much as possible. You also want to make sure it's clean, and then you just take it and you recycle it at your local recycling center. Overall, big points of this is to make sure that you clean everything that needs to be cleaned. So plastic, cans, glass, everything needs to be clean before it goes into the recycling process, which is kind of self-explanatory, but in order for it to be recycled, it can't be contaminated with anything, so it has to be clean. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. I hope you can have some tips and tricks. It's always helpful to sort your recycling out before you take it to a recycling center. And yeah, thanks y'all. Bye.
Hello, Wesley Foundation How-Toers. My name is Jonathan Stallings, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to bake my famous, not at all stolen recipe of white bread. It's super easy, and I'm going to show you the ingredients that you're going to need for this. So you're going to need some all-purpose unbleached flour. Unbleached is important, or bread flour. I don't know why unbleached is important, but it is. You're going to need some salt, some oil. This is vegetable oil. I also forgot to mention literally the most important part of bread making, the yeast. You're going to need yeast. I have this active dry yeast. That's what I would recommend. I haven't really tested any other kinds of yeast. yeah, you're gonna need yeast to make bread. So I like to use olive oil just because it's a little more flavorful. The thing is, I don't have any, so vegetable oil works just as well. One bread pan, and you're going to need a set of measuring utensils, preferably a cup and then some measuring spoons, and then one of these measuring cups. And I have a mixer. You don't need a mixer. You just really need a large bowl. And by large, I mean, like, this is, like, kind of big, but, like, something that's probably this size, you know, not huge, but also not small, because, you know, your dough is going to come to about here, and it's going to rise to about here. All right, so let's get to it. All right, number one thing you want to do. This step is a lot more important in the end game whenever you are cleaning up. You want to coat your bowl pretty generously with some oil because the yeast is very, very sticky. And if you coat it with oil, it will not be so sticky. So, cool. So, that's all pretty much coated up. Yeah, we're going to start putting stuff in now. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is add 4 cups of flour, of this all-purpose unbleached flour. Shout out to Kroger. Let's do 1, 2, 3-ish, 4. And you're going to want to keep the flour out and kind of ready to go. Just because once we get into mixing water, you're probably going to add some flour. 1 tablespoon of salt. Pour out that bad boy. Put it in here. Oh! Next thing we're going to add is, I believe, 1 1/4 teaspoon. Yes, 1 1/4 teaspoon of active dry yeast. I get these glass bottles. There's more yeast in it. It's a little more expensive, but it also helps the environment. So that is 1 1/4 teaspoon. Nice. All right. So then once we've got all these ingredients in the bowl, what I like to do is I like to take this measuring cup. I don't know how much water I put in it. It varies depending on how much flour. Fill it with some lukewarm water. So at this point, for those of you who do not have a stand mixer, you're going to want to oil your hands with vegetable oil, and basically stir this stuff up and then just keep adding water and stirring it up and keep adding water. You're kind of going for a shaggy dough. That is what they say in all the recipe books. They say shaggy dough. What you're going to want to do is with your hands and whatever your utensil you might be using, like maybe that's a rubber spatula or something. Either way, whatever you're using to stir this dough, cover it in vegetable oil. It just keeps it from getting gross and doughy and a pain in the butt to clean off. Alright, so I'm going to begin mixing this and start adding water. We just kind of want to add a lot at the beginning because as you can kind of see, it's starting to clump together. You don't want to add too much. And also, this is where using your hands has the advantage. You're gonna have a lot of flour stick to the side. And so that is going to want to mix in with the water you just put in. So I take a spoon or something, kind of in between stirs. Do this. Ooh, yes, look at that. Don't really need to add any more water. Alright, so something about the way bread works. I have no idea how it works this way, but this is just what I know. The amount of kneading affects the consistency of your bread in the end. So if I were to knead this a whole lot, my bread would be a lot denser, a lot, I guess spongier would be the word. So it's good if you're making like sandwich bread or something, which that's like a whole different recipe. This is just like white bread that I just like to eat. Your dough should be looking a little something like this, a little goopy, kind of gross. Smells really great. Alright, so we're just gonna plop this boy right into the bowl. Cool, and now here's where the waiting begins. This is why you oil your hands, because if you don't, like I just did, then you have to deal with that. So always oil your hands. Yeah. Alright, so now that our dough is done, we are going to take this clean cloth and store it in a I don't want to say warm place, but like not a refrigerator and not like by an air conditioning or something. So I always just put mine on top of the fridge and it just stays here. You gotta cover the whole thing, keep all that good stuff on the inside. Now we wait for 2 hours. So future Jonathan, 2 hours from now, get ready to make some bread. Let's get this bread.
2 hours later.
So it has been well over 2 hours since my dough has risen. That is okay. It has to be a minimum of 2 hours for it to rise on top of a warm place. I have Catherine now joining me. We just picked up some lunch. All right, after you have done your 2 hours of waiting, guess what? We're gonna do a little bit more and then another 2 hours of waiting. I'm using the mixer again, but you can just like stir it up with your hands. It doesn't need much, probably just about that much, just to kind of move it around a little bit. See that fall off? Woo! And so after we get that off, basically, we're gonna wanna take this and put it in the refrigerator. So let me clean off my hand and get this fly out of here. All right, now we just gotta wait here for 2 hours.
2 hours later.
All right, so with about 15 more minutes remaining on the bread in the refrigerator, take an oven, obviously, and preheat it to about 375. We gotta wait 15 minutes and then take out the bread and put it in the pan. All right, now that our oven is preheating, what we wanna do is we wanna generously coat that with vegetable oil. And you want to coat the bottom and the sides, which are really the only other options. I was going to say you could do that mainly, but I'm going to coat this really quick and then put the dough in. Stay. Don't move. Okay, so now that our oven is preheated / preheating, towards the end of that process, we're going to take our big fat loaf of dough and just pop it right here in the bread pan. You want to press it down, kind of get it as flat as you can, but you also don't want to press it down too far. So you want to press it down. This is what it should look like. This is the before. And so right as soon as the oven finishes preheating, we're going to put this bad boy in. So our oven is officially preheated. We're going to take our bread, we're going to put it in there for 1 hour. So in 1 hour, we will have bread. All right, so I just took the bread out of the oven. I usually like to put it on one of these things. I like to put it on one of these things. If you generously coated this, then this should work pretty well. It should just come right out. Put it right there. So just in case, take your serrated knife and just like find kind of a little bit of an opening and just stick it down in there. Wiggle it around a minute, and if there's dough on it, then you probably need to cook it a little more. If there's not, like with mine, then you're good to go. So that is my official how to make Jonathan's totally not stolen regular white bread. I don't remember what I said earlier. Yeah, thank you. Enjoy your bread.
Like I've been tied to the whipping post, tied to the whipping post, tied to the whipping post. Good Lord, it feels like
quarantine with nothing to do and you want to learn something to impress your friends, let's say you live on a lake, or you have a family member or a friend that owns a boat, they live on a lake, and you want to show them what's up, I'm going to teach you guys how to barefoot. So, the biggest thing to know about barefooting is your body position. And the easiest way to practice this is up against a wall. What you're going to do is you're going to get into a wall sit, just like how you would in PE or whatever, or any kind of exercise. You're going to sit into a wall. Want to come over here, Kai? I got my buddy Kai videoing. Thanks, Kai. So you're going to be sitting in a wall sit. You want to have your upper body here. You want this angle to be 90 degrees. And then you want to have this angle where your knees at 90 degrees as well. So from here, you're in this wall sit with both 90 degree angles. You want to have your knees together, just like this. And you want to have your feet about shoulder width apart. That's going to be your main body position for barefooting. So your knees are going to have mainly all your support, and you want to have your feet apart so the water's not splashing up in your face and you're going to want to see where you're going, or else that's not fun. So next step, in the morning or in the afternoon, we'll head down to the lake and we'll go from there. Alright, so it's the next day, we're out on the lake. It's an awesome day to barefoot. The wind's not too calm, it's just a little bit of texture just to keep it comfortable. So what we have here is a knee board. You can do this on pretty much anything of this kind of size, whether that's a knee board, a surfboard, even a skim board, or like a wakeboard without boots on it. Just anything like this size that's going to keep you out of the water. So how we do this is we're going to be, I'll have Kai sit on the knee board, not lay down on it, just sit on it. And he's going to put his feet on top of the knee board. And what you want to do, you want to be sitting far back enough onto the knee board to where the tip of the knee board can still come out of the water when the boat starts moving. So you don't have to sit quite as far back. So what we're going to do is we're going to be on the boom, which I'll explain in a minute. And Kai's going to have his feet resting on the knee board. And when we start accelerating, I'm going to accelerate just a little bit, to about half his speed. And then Kai is going to slowly put his feet in the water. You want to have, you don't want to point your toes down, or else your toes are going to drag into the water and it's not going to be fun. So see if you can sit forward just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And then you're going to get into that stance that I talked about last night, where you have two 90-degree angles here, and your knees are going to be together. And then once that boat speeds up to your barefoot speed, that knee board, see if you can stand up just a little bit. That knee board, slippery dog. That knee board is just going to slide out from under you, and then you'll be barefooting. So, yeah, onto the lake. Okay, so what we have here off the side of the boat is called the boom. And what it is, it's just a really good training tool as opposed to doing it directly behind the boat. It's a solid pole, and it just makes it easier for whoever's in the boat instructing and the skier to just kind of communicate. They can talk about what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, and it just holds them in place. It's great for barefooting. You can use it for combo skiing, slalom skiing, wakeboarding, pretty much anything behind the boat. And this one specifically was made for barefooting, so we'll be in good shape. Go ahead, Kai.
As you can see here, I'm holding my arms almost completely straight, as they should be. They should be as straight as you can get them without pretty much locking them out. And you can see that I'm about halfway up the knee board. You'll see me in just a second scoot forward just a little bit. That's just to kind of keep the weight on the knee board pretty much balanced as much as you can front and back. As you can hear, you probably just heard me say go, who was to Kai, who was driving. That was just an indication for him that he can go ahead and start speeding up to my barefoot speed. Also, in just a second, you'll see the knee board start bouncing just a little bit. The best way to prevent that is to put more weight on the front of the board, whether that's press down with your feet more, or even having the driver speed up just a little bit helps as well. But the best thing to do is definitely to put more weight on the front of the board. As you can see from this shot here, my arms are completely straight. You want them straight, or else if you pull them in, that's going to basically sweep your feet out from under you going forward, and you'll fall backwards, and that's no fun. You can see the 90-degree angle between, or in my knees. You can see my feet are right under my knees, which is where they should be. And you can see my back and my legs are almost at a 90-degree angle. If they're back just a little bit, that's okay. That's not going to make much of a difference. But that's the biggest thing there, is your arms are straight and you have those two 90-degree angles that we talked about before. And just like that, you're barefooting. That's pretty much all there is to it. I know when you're going at the speeds that you are in barefooting, the end of the lake is going to come up pretty quickly. So whenever you're ready to stop, all you got to do is just let go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the dock. We just finished up. We went up, got something to eat, dry out, came back down here, just kind of lock up the dock. I hope you guys had fun trying it. I hope it went well. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. If you ever find yourself in Northeast Georgia, give me a shout. We can come out here and ski. I'll help you out. You might be able to help me out. Who knows? We're on one of Jefferson's best kept secrets. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and we'll see you guys on the lake.
And just a little clip at the end. Here is one of Kai's early attempts on barefooting. I don't really have much to say about it. Enjoy.
And forward! Now go pull your arms in. Wait for your weight on your feet. Oh,
Hello. I hope you're having a lovely day today. Welcome to the Joy of Painting with Wesley. I'm Bea Barnett, and I'll be leading you through your painting today. Now, before we get started, there are a couple things that you need. First, you need paints, of course. However, you can use whatever medium you would like, whatever kind of paint, whatever is available to you. I'm using watercolor and acrylic today, but you do not need to use that. You can use whatever you have handy. Of course, you need paint brushes. These do not need to be fancy paint brushes. Don't put that pressure on yourself. You can get any kind of paintbrush you want from any store. They all work. They're all going to be great. They're all going to do their job. Of course, you need water. Something to put your paints on, and a paper towel to blot your paintbrushes. Okay, the first thing that you need to know before painting is that art is for you. It's for nobody else except you. You don't have to impress anybody. This is only for the sake of your renewal and rest. You do not have any expectations or any pressures on you. Know that this is yours and it is what you make it, and it's not anybody else's. We are going to be painting something that is very special to me, something that represents a life and new beginnings and hope, and that is a tree. Let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paintbrush. It can be any size paintbrush. I think for this I'm going to be using a slightly bigger one, only to get the shape of the tree. I'm going to be using my watercolor, so I'm going to dip a little bit into my water, and then I'm going to go into the brown. Now, know that your tree can be whatever color you want. It can be blue, it can be yellow, it can be purple, whatever you want, because it's your tree and not anybody else's. It's not mine. You do not have to follow me. The thing about my canvas, I'm doing kind of a split canvas and it's kind of stylized, but you do not have to do this. You can have any sized canvas that you want. But like I said, I'm going to go in with the brown. And I'm going to start with the trunk. Whenever I paint, I always like to feel what the painting is trying to tell me. For me, I don't get to define my painting. The painting defines itself as I go. If you try to pressure your painting into being something it's not, then it's not going to end up to the potential that it could have been. So whenever I'm thinking about my tree that's going to be on this canvas, I'm thinking about a really strong trunk. And I'm going to just do light strokes with the brown, like this. I think has a really strong trunk, a really strong foundation. Trees are not much unlike humans in that we all need a strong foundation, a strong support. So I think that my tree is going to have a knot right here. I think that this is it's an older tree, it's seasoned, it knows the world, and I think it's kind of going to be knotted in that sense. So this lump right here, that's going to be a knot. That. Okay, you have a good strong foundation base. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to work on your roots. Now, roots are an essential part of the tree. They are what give life to the tree, it and the branches. So we're going to pay a lot of attention to the roots, and I think that these roots are really knotted, like kind of wiggly. That's the thing about trees is I really love how their roots look. I love the way that their roots are knotted. Now know that it does not have to be perfect. You are not held to perfection expectations. This definitely does not look perfect. But trees aren't perfect. Like humans, we all have imperfections. And you know what? We are going to embrace this tree's imperfections, much like we should embrace our own. So we're going to keep going. That is going to be the base for my roots. Yeah, it looks a little bit odd right now, but that's okay because once we develop it, it's going to become something so beautiful. We can only do that if we develop it though, if we give it patience and time. Now, I'm going to go in with more brown and I'm going to create the structure of my branches. Like I said, branches are not perfect, but I think that this tree is telling me that has a really strong branch right here, and I'm going to kind of make it knotted. The difference whenever you're painting, you do not have to listen to me. You can paint your tree however you want to. The difference for me between painting branches and painting roots is roots are much more knotted. They're like tendrils. They're almost like the veins of the tree. The branches are like the arms. They stretch up towards the sky. They reach for the sunlight. So ultimately, you want to think, oh yes, that is my branch's ultimate goal is to reach upward, whereas this is knotted and it goes into every crevice and corner and trying to get water. So branches tend to be smoother, at least the kind of tree that I'm painting. You do not have to paint the same kind of tree as me. There are so many different kinds of trees out there. So many. And they're all so beautiful. So you can take it in whatever direction you want to. You do not have to be limited to only what I tell you. But we're going to have some branches. I think that there's going to be a branch that comes out of the side of the tree too, and I think it's going to kind of do that number. Oh, beautiful. I think I'm going to stop there for now. We can always add more detail later. Don't put any pressure on yourself to make it perfect, because it shouldn't be perfect. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go in with more brown, but I think I'm going to go in with a darker brown, and I'm going to start detailing this tree. I really want to pay attention to the details of this tree because it is beautiful and it deserves recognition. I'm trying to listen to my painting now. That is so important, actually, is to not force your painting to be anything it isn't. You are simply the conduit for the art. You're simply the conduit for the image. And when you know that, your painting evolves into something so beautiful and so great. I don't know if you noticed, but if you did, my water started to drip, and I caught it before it managed to roll down the canvas, but sometimes that doesn't always happen, and that is okay. They're happy accidents. I believe if the painting rolls down and I don't see it, it's because the painting is trying to tell me to do something different. Maybe if it rolls down and there's a streak of brown down there, maybe I need to create a root. If there is a streak of brown that comes down from this branch, maybe I need to make a branch that comes down there. But I just listen to the painting. I roll with the punches. That's what life is all about, right? Is rolling with the punches and not taking things too seriously. Living in the moment. It's so important to live in the moment of your painting. I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to create some more roots down here. We just want to get that really firm, wonderful base for the tree. I feel like my tree is very sturdy, and maybe it's growing in a place that, you know, not a lot of trees grow in. I think that is that my tree is very hardy. It is persistent, and it is going to withstand whatever the world can throw at it. Strong tree. But follow your heart. Do what you want to do. I am not holding you to any expectation whatsoever. You know, trees communicate by their roots. They have this fungus on their roots. I forget what it's called, but it's quite amazing. It acts like a nervous system for the trees. And basically they all communicate with each other. They let each other know when there's an infestation. So other trees will harden up as a result, harden up their bark. Things like that happen all the time with trees. And it is quite wonderful to think that, you know, it's a community of trees. We're really not all that different from them. Gonna keep going. I think now we will move on to the leaves. We do not feel that you need to do a lot of detail up in the branches, because the fact is that, or at least if you're doing leaves, you don't have to do leaves at all if you don't want to. If you are doing leaves, don't feel pressure to put detail up in the branches, because there's going to be leaves that are over the branches, and we can worry about detail after the leaves. Okay, for the leaves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a hard bristled brush. You can use whatever brush you would like. I'm actually going to go in first with watercolor. I'm doing this because I want a base that I can detail over, a versatile base. And I'm just going to dot like this. I'm not going to do anything else. Don't be afraid to hit your canvas. It can take it. Take your aggression, take your frustration out on your canvas. This is what it's for, is to work through your feelings, to be in them. And to realize that is okay to be in your feelings, to feel to feel things. I'm just gonna dot like that. I imagine my tree to be it's a very full tree. And you know, we can do. See, I don't have any rhyme or reason. Don't feel like you need to have a specific brush style. Don't feel like you need to do anything specific. Just do what you feel the painting is telling you to do. Beautiful. Look at that. Look how full and green that is. You can use whatever color leaves you want though. You can use red, you can use yellow. Your tree can be whatever season you would like. Maybe your tree is in autumn and it's experiencing a time of transition. My tree, I believe, what it's telling me is that it's in the beginning of spring and it's first starting to really have such growth after the long winter. And I think that that is what made it so big and beautiful is its time through the winter. And you know, that's not unlike us. We go through seasons of life just like trees, and sometimes when seasons are hard, they reveal the most beautiful parts of ourselves. Much like in the winter, winter reveals the branches of the tree. We don't get to see those in any other time of year, but we do in the winter. I think the hardest times can reveal the best and most beautiful parts of ourselves. Like how winter reveals the tree's branches. Okay, so now we have our base. I'm actually going to go in with acrylic now because I want these leaves to be really bright. I'm just going to take the same paintbrush, and this is a lighter green. I think I want I'm paying attention to light source a little bit, but you don't have to worry about that. It's not going to be as full as the base. You're using the base to kind of fill in the edges. You can take this green wherever you would like. Follow your heart. I want to keep those branches exposed because they're beautiful. They're beautiful parts of the tree. Just like we shouldn't cover up our imperfections, the tree's branches aren't perfect, but they're beautiful anyway. So maybe we should think about not covering up our imperfections and embracing them, just like we're embracing the imperfections of our tree. If it doesn't look perfect, good. It shouldn't look perfect. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Painting is not about pressure. Painting is about recentering yourself. And we are going to create even more depth in this tree, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to let the paint and the painting lead me to where I think it wants me to go. Finish the leaves. That is the base of our tree. Take a step back and admire your work. You did that. You did that. You created a piece of art. You are an artist. You were an artist before you even picked up the paintbrush. Just need to believe in yourself. Beautiful. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to make the bottom. I think that I am going to go, you know, I really feel like this tree, I think it's hardy. I think it's persistent, persistent in its efforts. I think that it's really strong. I think it's a type of tree that's so strong that it grows on stone. It manages to find nutrients on the stone and through the stone. So I think I'm going to draw a stone. on a stone. So I think I'm going to take a gray. You can do grass, you can do whatever you would like, but my painting is leading me towards that, so I'm going to follow it. I'm going to embrace it. So also, while you're detailing your grass or your stone or whatever you would like, you're going to mess up your roots a little bit, but that's okay because we can always go back and touch it up. We can always go back and touch it up. No pressure, just do what you want to do. So we have our stone, or at least the base for our stone, and it's beautiful and wonderful. Perfect. Now, I think actually, I think I want the remainder to be greenery and grass. So I'm just going to see, look, I messed up, but you know what? That's okay. I can go back and I can fix it. So I'm going to just take green. You know what? I would encourage you, once you get to this point, you stop and take a break. That's exactly what I'm going to do, is I'm going to stop and take a break because I know that things take time. It's a process. Take a break, take a step back, and really look at what you created. Don't do it with a critical eye. Do it with, this is mine. This is my painting, my self-expression, and embrace it. Be back shortly. Welcome back to The Joy of Painting with Wesley. I hope you had a wonderful and restful break. We are going to continue with our wonderful painting. I think that the first thing that I feel led to do, I think I'm going to touch up the leaves here. I think I'm going to make them more detailed first. Don't feel pressured to make them more detailed. Don't feel pressured to make them look perfect. But I feel like that's what my tree is telling me that I should do. So I'm just going to go in with a smaller brush and just, you know, it's not perfect. It's not exactly how I envisioned it, but that's okay. Its imperfections are what make it beautiful. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful tree. And so are you. You're beautiful. 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 Wonderful. Amazing. Those are all the things that you should be saying to yourself about your painting, because it is. It's beautiful and amazing and wonderful because it's yours. So important to remember that. Okay, I'm going to stop there. For now, I might go back and do more details if I feel so led. I'm actually going to do just a tiny bit more over here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to dot my paintbrush in some water, and I'm going to dip it onto my towel, and I'm going to get some brown, and we're going to detail this tree. See, look at that. Beautiful. Loving this. This knot, it's an imperfection, but it's what makes the tree a tree. It's what makes it beautiful. The details of the tree, a lot of the time, the bark moves up and down the tree. However, you can take the bark however you want. Don't feel limited to what I'm doing, because that is not what art is. Art is not limited. Art is about free expression. It's about being yourself. And I don't want to define you for you. Now, I have a tendency as an artist to keep going and keep going and keep adding details and keep adding details because I want it to be perfect. But the more details you add, and the less that you listen to your painting, the more that it gets away from you, and the less it becomes of your creation and instead of creation for somebody else. So remember that as you paint. the roots right here, but not too much because we're actually about to go in and detail the grass. And what I'm going to do is actually go in with some acrylic paint because I want this grass to pop. I'm not going to do too much of it though because I don't want it to take away from the magic of the tree. So, I'm just gonna go in. I think it's gonna be grass over here, so we're just gonna like have light little strokes. If there's grass around the roots, there's going to be grass that's going to cover your roots. So don't be afraid to cover up your roots a little. Not typical, or from my understanding, it's not super common for artists to mix mediums. And by mixing mediums, I mean I am doing this in watercolor and acrylic. But here's the thing, is that it's what I wanted to do, and it's what was available to me. So I shouldn't feel ashamed. I don't need to be held to regular artist standards because an artist is doing what you want to do and being who you want to be. Expressing yourself in the way that you want to. Really help with your confidence as an artist. So as you paint, whenever you're done with something, you say, beautiful. Even if the perfectionist side of yourself is saying, nope, it's bad, it's terrible. Don't listen to that. Be who you are and say, yes, this is beautiful because it is. It is absolutely beautiful. Because it is what I feel led to do. After this, that's all I'm going to do down here. See, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be a little. A little goes a long way. All right. And now the last thing, oh no, not quite the last thing. We need to create a little bit, or at least I feel the pull to create some more detail in this rock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a darker color. And I'm just going to detail the rock a bit more. Create some, ooh, that's dark. See, this is darker than I wanted it to be, but you know, that's okay because I can go back in with a gray, go over it, and it will still look very good. It's going to be beautiful because it's a beautiful rock. Just gonna see. And this seems like, oh, there's a lot of black. What I like to do, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with some water. I just dipped it in water. I'm gonna smooth out those lines that I made and blend. The great thing about watercolor is that you can use water to blend your paint on the canvas. It's really fun. So, create a little bit more definition. I think I'm going to go in, actually, I think I'm going to go in with a little bit of like orange color and just like, because trees have different hues to them, they're not just brown. So I'm going to go in with that orange color. You see how it makes it pop? Oh yeah. See, I had no idea how this was going to work out. I just felt led to do it. And I'm so glad I did because it makes it pop out. It can stand out against the rock. It brings life to that bark. So I'm going to do that actually all the way up and over here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go up. Do a little bit here. Go into the branches with it. Because wow, 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 look at that. I love that. Never, ever have discovered that if I had not taken a chance. just gave it so much more definition and life. Don't be afraid to add in a pop of color that you think that you feel led to add, because it can turn out so beautiful. Okay, final thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a smaller hard bristled brush and I'm going to add some moss to my tree. Because if y'all know me at all, you know that I love moss so much. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a dark color. And the movement of the trunk kind of goes like this. It doesn't go like this. This is a back root. This is like forefront root. So I'm going to follow that root. I'm just going to dot it along that root right there. And you know, if some of the brown pokes through, that's okay, because moss isn't perfect either. I'm going to kind of climb up around that knot that I made, that beautiful knot. Just dot it, just dotting it. It's fluffy, it's wonderful. It doesn't have to be too much either. You can cover the whole tree in moss if you felt so led. That is 100% up to you. There are trees out there that are covered in moss, and if you want to do that, you do it. I think I'm going to extend it down a little bit this way, and maybe here. But you know what? That's all. That's the biggest that my moss is going to get. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a lighter color, because our moss is different colors. And I'm just going to go in and dot that lighter green over that dark green while it's still wet, and you get this really nice, like, blended look at that. Look how beautiful that moss is. Moss is so beautiful, y'all. Beautiful. I think I'm actually going to go in a little bit more dark green with a different brush, non-bristle brush, and I'm just going to kind of, I really want to define this moss right here, so I'm going to kind of like trace it. You don't have to do this. This is just how I feel led. And you know what? I'm going to stop there. Take a step back. Look at the tree that you made. It's absolutely beautiful. You should be proud of yourself. And it's beautiful because of its imperfections, because of the moss, because of the branches, because of the roots. That's why it's beautiful. Embrace your imperfections. Be a tree. Grow despite whatever hardships you have. Stretch your branches towards the sky. Embrace your imperfections. Know that each season of life develops you and makes you into something beautiful. This tree would not be this tree without the seasons that it has gone through, without its seasons of growth. So just remember that, and also remember that you are enough. This is enough, and you are enough. Thank you for coming and painting with me at The Joy of Painting with Wesley. I hope you have a lovely day, and God bless.
Hey y'all, Michelle and Mary Alice here to teach you a little bit of a how-to. Our how-to is how to run the Wesley dishwasher. Get ready, y'all. Okay, step number 1. If you come to Wesley and you have dishes that need to be cleaned, sometimes there's a rack like this sitting out, and you're invited to rinse out your dish and then put it on this rack and use it, and when we're ready to do dishes, we will run it. However, if this rack or a rack like this is not here, the way you wash your dishes is like this. There's dish soap way up here. It's really easy to use. There's a scrubber for you right about there. You turn on the water, you spray it, you squeeze some soap, and then, this is the really tricky part, you squeeze some soap on your little scrubber thingy here, and you go like this. And you wash it, and then you rinse it, and then you come over here to this part of the kitchen and you put it away. So that's how you wash your dishes, unless it's after a major Wesley event or somebody's given you permission to just put it here on the rack. Okay? So, how to run the dishwasher. Let's get started with that. Mary Alice is going to help me out. So here y'all go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Step 1 for running the Wesley dishwasher. Press the big black button to on. So Mary Alice, can you push the big black button on? Like that. And look, those lights come on and they let you know that they're on. Step number 2, you got to come inside the dishwasher here. This guy, this little guy right here, super important. This is the thing that closes the drain so that the dishwasher fills up. Flip it down. Step number 2, the door right here. Close it. And now it starts to say fill. And you got to do this before you want to wash any dishes. And it takes a minute. It'll fill. We'll hang out. You keep watching it. You can hear it. Can you ask that again? You can open that back up when this stops flashing letters that say fill. Okay? So we gotta wait for that to stop flashing. Okay? Here's your entertainment while we fill.
I'm jumping.
You're jumping. Still filling. It takes a while. Still jumping. While it's filling, things that you can do. Everything has to be rinsed before you can put it through the dishwasher. So, our handy dandy little rinser. Rinse all the dishes, inside and out. Also, I love the fact that Wesley's been closed for 6 weeks, and I walked in for the first time in 2 weeks, and there's a rack of dishes to be washed. I wonder where all of these things could have come from. Who knows? Maybe they're all clean and I just didn't know it. We'll put this one right here. Alright, so all of our dishes are rinsed. The dishwasher. Mary Alice, has it stopped flashing? It has. Alright, that means we can open the handle. Alright, so you open it up, and then you slide that in, slide the rack in. Can you help me push it in? Thank you. And then we lift it back down. And it makes a lot of noise. And you can watch on the display. It says wash. And it'll say that, and then it'll say rinse. And then when all the letters are gone, it'll be done. And it'll stop making noise, and you can open it back up. Yeah. And while it's running, when we have a lot of dishes to do, you can be rinsing and racking your next tray. All right, here we go. Switching to rinse. right. All the writing's gone. All right, Mary Alice, can you raise that bar up? Once all the writing's gone, you can raise it up. And you come over to this side. This is the clean side. We don't put dirty dishes on this side because this is the clean side. Pull out your clean dishes, shake them all off, rinse them all off, and then you go put them away. Conveniently, almost everything in the kitchen is labeled as to where it goes. So putting things away is pretty easy. If you've got a cup, you can put it in the cabinet that's labeled cups. If you've got silverware, you put it in the drawers that are labeled. We've got bowls and small plates. Pots and pans go in the pantry. Coming back around this way. Here's where all of our plates go. So here's where our fun things go. All right. Now, here's the important part. You've finished washing all your dishes. We put them all away. All is well in the world. Now it's time to turn the dishwasher off. Step number 1. Remember this guy that you flipped down? This guy? You want to see? Come on, stand up and look. See this guy that you flipped down to fill the thing up? You got to lift it back up to drain the dishwasher. If you don't lift that up to drain the dishwasher, that's how we end up with roaches and other bugs, because it leaves standing water in the dishwasher until the next time somebody comes, and then you end up washing dishes with nasty water. We don't want to do that. So remember, this guy, super important. Flip him up. You can hear the thing draining. When it's done draining, you come over here, back to this big black button, and what do, Mary Alice? You turn it off. That's how it's done, friends. All right, y'all, that's how it's done. That's how you run the dishwasher at Wesley. If you don't remember how to do that, you can always ask somebody. They probably do. Or better yet, if you don't have a whole lot of dishes that need washing, you can wash them by hand. It works really well. You wash them, you dry them, and then you put them away. It's awesome. Also, if you've got questions and you don't really know what to do, the instructions are posted here at Wesley. Right here. Wednesday lunch setup. Step number 1, turn on the dishwasher. Wednesday lunch cleanup. Step number 8, turn off the dishwasher. Here you go. All your instructions. All right, y'all, thanks for coming to our how-to video. And now, as Mary Alice said, we're gonna put the dishes away. What are we about to do?
Put the dishes away.
Yay! See y'all soon. Love you.